Hello and welcome to the Burn KC ScorchCast. I am your host, Alex Blackburn. I am getting this out later because it is a long weekend. Happy Labor Day, everybody. But your boy is still working for you guys to get the good sports news of Kansas City out to you. Got a few things to cover for today. Got the first week of college football through all three local schools. Covers that. We also got a little bit of Royals news, a little bit of Chiefs and current and sporting news. But other than that, that's pretty much it. Got kind of a shorter ScorchCast this week. Got quite a bit to talk about with college football though, and feats as well, mainly. So those will be kind of our two main topics this week. So sit down, excuse me, strap in, sit down, have a great time listening to this little ditty I got for you. Little less than about 60 minutes, but what can you do, folks? I like to hear myself talk, I guess. I don't know. But hopefully you learned a thing or two and you can brag to your coworkers that you learned a thing or two and show them what you learned. So, from yours truly, I like to think of myself as a teacher. No, I don't. But at any rate, let's just get this started. Let's just jump right into college football, shall we? All right, college football week 1. We're here, folks. All three local teams played today, or played this past week. KU being on Friday, and then of course Mizzou being on Thursday, and then Kansas State playing on Saturday. So, quite a week of college football. Kind of had a little bit to learn from. Just I guess it was the week of slow starts. Because excuse me, all three local teams had some pretty slow starts. Let's start with the Thursday game, Mizzou versus South Dakota. Mizzou could have done better, I think, with the talent that they have on their roster. It just kind of looks like a sloppy game. A lot of the fans kind of saw that too, and maybe left a little bit before the game was over. Whether that was because Mizzou was up or because they just didn't like the football that they were seeing. Um, I mean, it just. It, I don't want to say that because like they still got the win and they still got the convincing win up, 25. However, there's a lot to be learned from with this game. Mizzou's defense looked solid, if not a little bit inconsistent. With the linebackers that Missouri has, as well as that just front seven in general that Missouri has, I felt like they could have had a better performance. They got gashed on a couple plays by an FCS school, so that kind of doesn't bode well. Obviously, you've got practice, and this is the first game of the season, and what have you. But when you're getting gashed like that, when you're supposed to be one of the top defenses in the SEC, things don't look great. And then the big thing for the Missouri side is the quarterbacks. They still have no idea who their quarterback is going to be. Eli Drinkwitz has a lot of love for Brady Cook, but Brady Cook has shown to be chronically average. And the Sam Horn kid doesn't look a whole lot better. That being said, we don't have a whole lot of sample size for Sam Horn. Because he was out there for what I think 6 attempts is what I saw versus Brady Cook's like 30. So without proper sample sizing, how can you make that judgment? But it seems to me that Eli Drinkwitz is not going to allow us to see that sample size because he just doesn't like Sam Horn. That being said, a lot of people don't like Brady Cook. So Mizzou's in kind of a quarterback conundrum right now. Um, and this is kind of one of the biggest things that Missouri fans were worried about. I have a Reddit comment that I want to bring up here. Give me just a second. Um, but it does pertain to this topic that we're talking about here. Um, it's from my Drink or Swim article. Go check that out. It should be on the Burn KC website. But Drink or Swim is Eli Drinkwitz on the hot seat. Appropriate answer was made by an inappropriate source. The guy's Reddit name is inappropriate, so I'm not gonna say it. But he basically said in this. I'm going back to a comment that I had used in an earlier ScorchCast, but I do want to read um, this second part of this comment because it does pertain to this situation. He has failed at the QB position, he being Eli Drinkwitz, stunting this offense. And if he can't fix that, what's the point of an offensive mind at head coach? Um, I think he needs to make the right call in benching Brady Cook. So obviously, that's one Missouri fan out of many, but just judging on my talking with my Missouri people that are Missouri fans, um, it just a lot of people don't like Brady Quinn, and the fact that he is still getting this much game time over Sam Horn is kind of a slap in the face to the everybody except Eli Drinkwitz, and they're gonna need to get that figured out if they aren't going to get dog walked in the SEC, because in the SEC things move quick, and especially against the defenses that you're going to go up against, you're going to have a solid quarterback there. Brady Cook has proven that he's average, and with the wide receiver core that Missouri has, they can't have an average quarterback. They need a quarterback back there that's going to be poised in the pocket, that's going to make the correct decisions, that's going to get the ball downfield and not be captain check down, and just have a guy that's efficient and can produce. And Brady Cook is not that. Am I saying Sam Horn is going to be that? Well, judging by his performance, this week one game, we don't know. Again, because we have such a small sample size. So we'll just have to wait and see. Again, Missouri, the whole wait and see thing. I know that you guys have dealt with that a lot. It's kind of one of Harrington Harrison's big things when it comes to Missouri athletics in general, is just that kind of wait and see mentality. Um, Either do your business or get off the pot, in my opinion, because the SEC play is coming, and the SEC looks like the SEC this year. So you have to find a quarterback before you have another chronically average year if you are Eli Drinkwitz. Um, Talking about the other two games, though, that happened locally. KU played Missouri State. Jalen Daniels was not a part of that game due to his back tightness. Um, it is expected. I don't want to guarantee that he will be back for the Illinois game. They still have him as Jalen Daniels or Jason Bean on the depth chart, which has given a lot of people reason for concern that Jalen Daniels' back tightness may be a little something more than originally thought. We'll have to see. As of now, though, I've seen plenty of sources point to him playing, um, but I've also seen a few sources saying that he's not going to play, that he's not expected to play, and that Jason Bean will have another shot at quarterback. That also being said, though, Jason Bean had a pretty good game against Missouri State. He had the fourth best QBR out of all Big 12 quarterbacks this past week. I believe he was number 25 in QBR this past week, just in the NCAA overall, which is pretty good. And he got the W against Missouri State. Yes, Missouri State is not that great in terms of even the FCS. They're going through a lot of turmoil right now, a lot of changes. Obviously, Bobby Petrino left the program. They lost a lot of talent. Um, but I mean, it's still a team that has been ranked in the FCS polls in years past and been ranked pretty high in the FCS polls in years past. This is still a solid FCS program. And while KU did have a slow start and the defense looked kind of like Swiss cheese, giving up the big play quite a bit, I mean, they have to have someone spy the quarterback. As someone who was at this game, that was the biggest glaring issue I saw was absolutely zero defense against a running quarterback. And with the Big 12 quarterbacks that are existing right now, that are in the league right now, that's going to be real tough if KU doesn't figure that out really, really soon. They have to figure out a way to contain the quarterback run. The running back run game was pretty held down, pretty well held down. But I mean, the quarterback was able to run for a first down at whim, and that's just not feasible for a defense. You have to have a spy. You have to have somebody that has eyes on the quarterback at all times. So that was a big ick of mine in regard to the KU defense. Um, Other than that, though, it was solid. I mean, yeah, they had a slow start. Yeah, they put up 17 points. When in all reality, if you're playing an FCS team and you're a solid FBS program, you want to the most points your opponent should get is probably about 10. So, that left room to be desired. Again, slow start turned into a big, big second half. The run game of Kansas looked absolutely spectacular as expected. Daniel Highshaw did have a fumble, but he made up for it by scoring a touchdown and getting some good yards. Um, Overall, I think Kansas's strength is going to be their run game and their speed. And they showed that this first game. And in terms of their quarterback situation, we'll have to see. Um, because it sounds like they're still skeptic about Jalen Daniels. Would they like to see Jalen Daniels come back for what will be a big game against Illinois? Yeah, absolutely. Do they absolutely need him back for Illinois? I would say no. From what I saw of the Illinois Toledo game, this Illinois defense does not have a good run stopping defense. They got a great secondary, which, in years past is pretty par for the course for Illinois. But this run defense is Swiss cheese. And Devin Neal, Daniel Highshaw, Sevion Morrison, Dylan McDuffie, whoever's back there is going to capitalize on that just not great run defense. Because Toledo ran all over them and almost beat them too. If Illinois' offense didn't get it together in the last few moments, they would have beaten them. It came down to the wire. So, and KU is a lot less of a pushover than Toledo. So I expect this to still be a good game. Like Illinois is not going to come into Lawrence, Kansas and just be a doormat. Uh, they're going to put up a fight, but with the line being what it is right now, KU at 3.5, as well as what the run game showed against Missouri State, that's going to be their bread and butter, and that's what they should build upon. Will it be good to have a quarterback the caliber of Jalen Daniels? Absolutely, it would. It just adds another dimension to this offense. But Jason Bean can get the job done. He's a better runner, and it seems like his decision making has gotten better. Not as good as Jalen Daniels, but he's still a very, very good backup. I think KU has one of the better QB rooms in the Big 12, which is saying something. So, as for Kansas State, I mean, it's against SEMO. Yeah, Will Howard came out slow. He threw, I think, one or two picks. But I mean, by the end of the game, second team was in. They beat him 45 to nothing. The defense looked incredibly stout. Just not giving up hardly anything. And just overall, K State's bread and butter showed out. Um, I think Will Howard is going to be just fine. I don't see any quarterback controversy in the future for Kansas State. Yeah, he threw a pick. So what? It happens. Um, but I just the run game of Kansas State looks like it hasn't changed one bit since losing Deuce Vaughn. I mean, this Kansas State offensive line is stout. They're going to be, excuse me, are going to be award winners. Trayshawn Ward looks very, very good. Phillip Brooks looks like a great gadget receiver. And Will Howard looks like Will Howard of last year. So I wouldn't worry too much if I'm a Kansas State fan. I think you guys are in for another great year. But let's see who exactly you all think is going to have the best year in college football. Let's go to the polls. Let's go to this week's burning question. All right. So just judging by your guys' burning questions uh answers, it looks like you guys want to see KU do the best this year, or predict KU will do perform the best this year out of the three local colleges, local D1 colleges. Um, at least my Instagram and Facebook crowd, because the Twitter slash X whatever crowd, um, was a pretty resounding answer for K State, which is interesting. But overall, yeah, KU got the majority of the votes. My comment here, the comment that was left here, the one that was left by my girlfriend Sarah Ben Ezra. I think KU will have the best chance to go far this season because of the returning players and the already made chemistry with the team. Just referencing the the returning production for KU. Only if everyone stays healthy, though, is what she mentions. If they can't stay healthy, then my next best bet would be K State if they have similar team chemistry as they did last year. Overall, I would say that that's a solid answer. As far as KU doing better than Kansas State, that remains to be seen. A lot of pundits and experts are predicting Kansas State to do better and to be the Big 12 title contenders, not only Big 12 title contenders, but CFP contenders as well. It remains to be seen, obviously. This is just week one. Just looking ahead to week two matchups. Kansas has Illinois. That'll be a big litmus test for them just to see how they can do against a team that will not allow them to have a slow start. I mean, frankly speaking, they will not allow them to have a slow start. So they got to come out the gate swinging and beat this team convincingly if they want to look to be ranked and look to be taken seriously as a contender. Because right now they're the dark horse. With Texas Tech losing, a lot of people are now predicting Kansas to be that dark horse contender for the Big 12. Remains to be seen. Of course, we got to get through this week two here. Like I said, Kansas is playing Illinois. Kansas State will be playing Troy. Um, Pretty cupcake non-conference matchup. Troy has had some good teams in the past, and they are predicted to do well this year. Um, but they're not going to beat Kansas State. Not in Manhattan. And even Troy, they wouldn't beat them. I expect Kansas State to win handily there. Um, it might be close, given just Troy, and how they're predicted to be doing this year. Because they're predicted to make a bowl, they're predicted to do well in their conference. They'll be a solid team, a solid group of 5 program, but they're not going to get past Kansas State, in my opinion. And then Missouri's going to be coming up against another group of 5 team that's pretty solid. Middle Tennessee State. Middle Tennessee State beat Miami last year, if y'all don't remember that. That was a pretty good game. They've had a couple of shocker wins. And Missouri might seem ripe for the taking, in all honesty. If they don't get if their defense doesn't shore up and be the defense that everyone predicted that their defense would be, and they don't have their quarterback situation figured out, Middle Tennessee State might have a shot here. Um, and I hate saying that Missouri's 20.5 point favorites, but it'll be tight, I think. Um, Especially just with how Missouri performed against South Dakota. I mean, it'll be a tight game because, yeah, just overall, Kansas and Kansas State, really all three D1 college programs have tough schedules this year. Um, just it's going to be a race to the finish, for all 3 teams. Uh, they're all 3 going to be competitive. They're all 3 going to have their highs and their lows, I feel like. But it's going to be interesting to see where they'll end up. Um, Me personally, I've let my thoughts be known in the Burning Question article this past week. Go check that out. But just in summary, um, Kansas has a chance to be up there with the contenders. But if they can't stay healthy, I think it's Kansas State. So I agree very much with my girlfriend there. Side note, y'all, let me know what you think about Kansas's new blackout uniforms. Excuse me. My cat's feeder just went off. And it scared the crap out of me. um, but yeah, let me know what you think of the Kansas blackout uniforms. Just a little side note there. But let's continue on to the Royals. I've talked about college football quite enough. Okay, on to the Royals. The Royals, unfortunately, got eliminated from postseason contention this past week. I mean, I don't think anybody in their right mind thought that they would make the postseason after the start that they had, but it's still disappointing. This was supposed to be a year that the Royals were going to build back better, that they were going to have a lot of rookie and young guy success stories, including the manager, and just it was supposed to be a new era of Royals baseball, and it kind of just feels like more of the same. Um, I did kind of say back in April that you know I wouldn't put all my eggs in one basket. This is still this basically the same Royals team from last year. Yeah, they made some changes in the management department, but there's still plenty of things to fix. Um, One of those being the farm system, um, paying players the right amount of compensation, to make them want to stay here, and to just have a team that wants to play for Kansas City, that wants to do well for Kansas City. and to just have a good on the field product. I think that it's improved from last year. I don't think they're anywhere near what Kansas City wants them to be yet, though. Which is why I've been so adamant about this whole stadium relocation thing being a half-baked plan that needs a little bit more time in the oven. Um, 'Cause frankly speaking, there's much bigger issues to worry about in regards to the Royals. There were bright spots. I think the Royals have definitely found something in Cole Reagan, or Cole Reagans, excuse me. And I mean, he hasn't allowed a hit in a month. Or excuse me, allowed a run in a month. That's crazy for Royals pitching. That's crazy. I mean, I think he's going to be a stalwart for this Royals bullpen for a while. And I think the Royals bullpen needs to build around him. I don't want to again, I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket. He could eventually end up doing terribly. But from what it looks like, this is our best bet for a so-called ace. Um, is Cole Reagans. Everybody thought it would be Brady Singer. I think his time is shortly coming to an end. With the Royals, I think he's going to make for great trade capital. That's about it. Um, I don't see him being the long-term guy for the Royals. I do see Cole Reagans being the long-term guy. Um, in terms of other pieces on where to build and build back better for next year, obviously Bobby Witt Jr. is your best player right now. Build around him. Keep the young core pieces like Vinny Pasquantino around. Obviously, he didn't play a whole lot due to his injury this year. But I think he's still an integral piece of this Royals redevelopment, basically. Um, and then just make sure you have ample compensation for guys that deserve it. Bobby Witt Jr. is one of them. MJ Melendez might develop into something still. He looks decent. If nothing else, like I said, trade capital. Um, guys that look good should be paid good. I mean, it sounds simple, but the Royals make it seem like it's not. And then in regard to Salvador Perez, I know a lot of people do not want to hear this. I think it's time for Salvador Perez to retire. I mean, straight up, I think it's time for him to retire. He's past his prime. He's gotten a World Series. He's one of the best Royals of all time, and I think he's a shoe-in for Cooperstown. I truly think that. I think he's one of the best catchers in the league. For during his prime, he was one of the best catchers in the league, and because kind of just see him go out not with a bang but with a whimper, it sucks. But I mean, that's just what Royals baseball is right now because of the mismanagement that happened between 2016 and 2022. And it's a new era. And with that new era, you got to have guys that are invested in a new era. And I think Perez just isn't because he's past his prime. He's past his best playing. And I think he's a great leader. I think he's a great mentor for these guys, but I mean, that can only go so far. And I think it's about time that he just calls it a career, um, to just kind of save face, I guess. Um, but overall, in order to build the on the field product, you got to have a good farm system, invest in your farm system, invest in your young core. And I think that's how the Royals succeed going forward. And yeah, don't fire Matt Quatraro yet. I think there's bright spots with him. Yeah, he didn't have the best opening debut season, but he's never been a manager before. So give him a year or two, and if it ends up not working out, it ends up not working out. But I think the pieces are there for something to happen for the Royals. Um, just got to give it a little bit more time, unfortunately. You know, and I know Royals fans are tired of hearing that, but that's really all that we can do as fans is just wait and see. So we'll see what the Royals front office comes up with. But if they don't take the advice that they've been given, we can kind of see where their head's at, unfortunately, and it just won't look good, in my opinion. So, okay, on to the Chiefs. The good news. We'll start with good news first. The good news is that Kadarius Toney, L'Jarius Sneed, Kirk Wharton, and then who was the other guy that came back from injured reserve? Give me just a second. I'm gonna look that up real quick. But those three are back in limited capacity. Um, just a second here. Okay. Richie James is here. There's no injuries to report for the Chiefs. Everybody reported in limited capacity. Um, yeah, just looking at the injury report here, everybody was at least a limited participant, which is great to hear. I know a lot of people were worried about L'Jarius Sneed. A lot of people were worried about Kadarius Toney. Um, it looks like there will hopefully be okay for the Lions. They're in limited capacity right now. It is Monday, and the Chiefs do play Thursday, so I think they have to have an injury report um, by tomorrow. I think it's normally 2 days before game time, if I remember correctly. Um, but all signs point to a fully healthy Chiefs team, which is great. Going into what will be a tough game versus the Lions. The Lions, they built well in free agency. They look very, very good in terms of how they performed in preseason, and they finished off the year very, very well um, last year, and they've only gotten stronger. So be on the lookout for this Lions team. It'll be during prime time. Um, it's going to be interesting to see because there is one guy, and this is the bad news. There is one guy that is missing that I'm sure you have heard about time and again, and that is Chris Jones. Chris Jones is still holding out, and at this point, all signs point toward him missing the Lions game. I mean, even if he got paid between now and Thursday, he's still going to miss the Lions game because he missed yesterday's practice. In today's practice at that. Um, I mean, what else do you want? What else do you want to say at this point regarding this situation? There is so much information and misinformation being thrown around by some of the country's most reputable reporters in regard to this situation. I honestly don't know what or who to believe about this situation anymore. It sounds to me like Veach maybe blowing smoke about Chris Jones because he says he's hopeful that he'll play Thursday night, which I mean he's missed practice. The game's 2 days from now, basically 2 days from now. So, and according to reports, you guys aren't close to a deal. Nick Wright came out and said that Chris And the Chiefs are $9.1 million away from a deal. That's more than Aaron Donald money. And I think a lot of it, and I don't think a whole lot of it falls on Chris Jones. I think a lot of it falls on the Chiefs and the Katz brothers. Katz brothers being Chris Jones's agent. The Katz brothers are widely known and widely criticized as some of the worst agents in the NFL. They're not looking out for Jones's best interest because they're telling him to hold out, which is just a waste of money at this point because he's still in the final year of his contract. He can by all means show up whenever he wants, paid or not. But I think it's the Katz brothers telling him to not show. I think that's ridiculous. I think a lot of people think that's ridiculous, and it is. Because you're wasting your best years, your prime, listening to a couple of, I'll come out and say it, frauds. I mean, the Katz brothers are terrible agents. This is known. Who, other than Chris Jones, who of note have they represented and who of note have they gotten a good contract for? I can't name one. I saw a list of who all what all active players they have on their agency or with their agency, and Chris Jones was the only one of note. There's a reason for that. They're not good. On the same side, though, you got a Chiefs organization that isn't willing to budge. That's trying to give him Quinnen Williams money. And that's fine. But you gotta offer some incentives. Chris Jones is better than Quinnen Williams. Chris Jones isn't Aaron Donald, so I don't think he deserves Aaron Donald money per se. But I think he's earned a happy medium between Aaron Donald and Quinnen Williams, which it was what I thought they were talking about agreeing to. But from what I've been hearing, this has reached an impasse. There are people talking about trading Chris Jones, which I think is a terrible move. Well, you can trade Chris Jones to Carolina and go get Brian Burns in a second-round pick. Brian Burns had a average at best year last year. He's fading quick. And he's on a bad Panthers team. And seriously, a second-round pick? No, Chris Jones is one of the best defensive linemen in the NFL. You could get first-round picks for him if you wanted to trade him. You could get a marquee player and a first-round pick. You could. There's enough suckers in this industry that can happen. There's enough teams that are desperate for a big-time defensive presence for that to happen. But it's not going to because I don't think that's in the Chiefs' plan of attack. I think they want to get a deal done. It's just a matter of the Katz brothers and the Chiefs coming at an impasse because the Katz brothers are a terrible agency and the Chiefs don't want to pay out the wazoo for a guy that has caused them this much turmoil. And again, it's not Chris Jones's fault per se. Forget all the cryptic tweets, forget all the BS. I don't put this on Chris Jones. I don't. If I'm putting it on anybody, it's on the Chiefs' inability to work out a contract and on the Katz brothers' stubbornness. Thinking that they can gamble with this guy's career. Which is absolutely ridiculous. And at this point, I'm over it. I saw a tweet today that was just like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how worried are you about the Chris Jones situation? I believe it was from Arrowhead Addict, if you know them. Their Chiefs Twitter account, that it's pretty reputable. But they said, on a scale of 1 to 10, how worried are you about the Chris Jones situation? I saw a lot of people going, let's do something already. Like, rapper get off the pot is basically what it came down to. And I agree. It's become it's came to a point where you either do or you don't. If you don't, it probably should have happened by now that you made your intentions known that, hey, we're gonna let Chris Jones walk. You probably should have let the fan base know that by now that that's your intention, rather than just leading the fan base on and just coming to where we're at now of a frustrated fan base, a frustrated Chris Jones, and two parties that are one party that's not fit to make these arguments for their client, and another party that needs to realize what they have before it's gone. It's basically what it's come down to. So that's my take on the Chris Jones situation. Until he gets signed or traded or whatever is going to happen, that's pretty much all I'm going to talk about from here on out. Or that's all I'm going to talk about regarding this situation from here on out. I did want to make note of someone that commented kind of late on the $30 million man article that I had. Comment Boss 5496 on Reddit comments, if we're losing games without him, then our playoff chances go down and then his value just decreases because he's not needed. If we are winning without him, then his value decreases because obviously he's not needed, so it doesn't make any sense for him to hold out. He's getting bad advice. I 100% agree. 100% agree. And it's like I said, the Katz brothers are not a good agency. They're not good at negotiating. They haven't handled a marquee player in their entire agency career, like Chris Jones. So they don't know what they're doing. So the fact that Chris Jones is listening to these guys is a joke. Go play football. Quit wasting your prime years listening to a bunch of dorks that are incompetent. The Chiefs want you. They've stated that they want you. Fan base wants you here. Players want you here. But people are tired of it because it's gotten to a point where it's just ridiculous. So that's the end of my Chris Jones spiel. I'm not gonna go any farther into it because, frankly speaking, it's beating a dead horse at this point. I think everybody and their mother knows what the ramifications are of this do or don't situation. So that's also going to be it for my Chiefs talk. Chiefs do play the Lions on Thursday Night Football to open the season. It's looking like the Chiefs are favored, but it's going to be a tight game. So we'll just have to see what goes on because, like that comment said, if the Chiefs are winning games, I mean, either way, whether the Chiefs win or lose, it's just a bad situation for Chris Jones. So, okay, onward to the Kansas City Current. Kansas City Current suffered a tough loss against Angel City. That's a big blow to their playoff chances. They already had slim chances, and yeah, there's still a shot at them winning the League Cup. But you know, winning the League Cup may be the peak of this season. Um, for the Current because their playoff chances are not looking good. Um, but if you're a good program, which the Current are, you build off of this season, you claim your victories where you can get them, and you move on. I think this team will only get better with the further building of chemistry and just the overall skill that this team has because this team does have talent. Um, it's just a matter of putting that talent together into a force to be reckoned with. And that requires less turmoil at coach, frankly. Right now, you got an interim head coach that's done fine, not great, fine. Um, and you need to find someone that's going to take the reins for next year. Because next year's a big year. You go into your new stadium. You're going to come off, hopefully, of a League Cup win. But other than that, kind of a lackluster season. So you got a chip on your shoulder because, you were a team that competed for a championship. Um, and you got to build off that. A lot of those championship pieces aren't here anymore. But you have to build with what you've got. And I think the Current can do just that. I think they have the talent to go far and to get big wins. If not this year, next year for sure. Um, just the chemistry's got to be there. Yeah, it's very, very hard to build in season. What happened last year, where the Current, didn't do so hot for the first few games of the season, and then got really, really hot all the way until the NWSL Championship. That didn't happen this year, but you don't want to start off slow. You want to start hot and keep hot. And I think next year, the Current have every opportunity to do that with the talent that they have and the chip on the shoulder that they'll have. Especially if they end up winning the League Cup, because that's not going to be enough for most of these ladies. It's going to be NWSL Cup or bust next year, in my opinion. Because you did have this kind of runner-up slump that a lot of teams have. Um, when they come this close and then end up not making it, a lot of teams do go through that slump, and I think the Current are no exception. So, that being said, next year's going to be a huge year for the Current. So, we'll see how that goes. Let's just go ahead and jump into sporting as well. Just make this kind of the soccer section. Sporting did have a big win over a very, very good first place, actually, St. Louis team. That's a huge win for Sporting Kansas City. Um, you like seeing that because while they are still kind of in a spot where it's going to be tough to make the postseason, I think they still have every opportunity to make it. Um, there's not a whole lot of points separating that final playoff spot from 11th place, which is where Sporting is right now. Um, it is 32 minus 29, 4. No, 3. 3. I can do math, I promise. 3 points. That's one win separating first place from, excuse me, separating the final playoff spot from Sporting Kansas City, who is currently in 11th. Being said, they will need help. And they have a very, very, very tough schedule coming up. Go ahead and kind of look into that schedule here. Wait just a second. ESPN, why can't you load? But the next game for sure is Inter Miami. Inter Miami is one of the hottest teams in the league right now. They got Lionel Messi, who, if this defense shows, if this defense shows that they can't again because they've shown a lot of times that they can't cover stars very well. Sporting Kansas City's in for a beatdown. I mean, yeah, you held St. Louis to 1 goal, and you got the win over them. Inter Miami's a completely different team. Inter Miami is stellar for is incredibly good, and now at least they're incredibly good because I just looked at the table here. They're 14th. Really? They're winning the League Cup right now? That's crazy. I That's baffling to me that they're 14th. I thought they were much higher. But that's still a good team. I mean, you have Lionel Messi across the ball from you. That's scary. He's the best soccer player perhaps ever, and he's coming to Kansas City. Um, if they can get a win there, oh, the standings changed by the way. Um, Kansas City is officially 4 points back of that final playoff spot. And that final playoff spot is held by San Jose, who I believe is one of the teams that they play this upcoming couple games. But these last couple games are going to be crucial. They're going to need help. They got to beat Miami. They got to beat Minnesota. They got to beat a very good Nashville team. They got to beat a very good Houston team. And they got to beat a very good St. Louis team again. They pretty much have to go 5-0 and win their games by a decent amount. And they're going to have Austin, Dallas, and San Jose all lose at least one. Um, it's a stretch, but it can happen. And if it does happen, if Sporting Kansas City can get hot, they've shown that they can stay hot, at least for a while. And you hope that that can continue into a good postseason run if they are given that shot. So, um, they're going to need more big wins, and they can get them, but it's going to be tight. So, okay. Last section before we wrap up the show, just some minor news. Marcus Adams Jr., the saga continues. Marcus Adams Jr. just committed to Big 12 rival BYU. He will be going to Brigham Young, and Kansas will be facing him twice a year this coming year. I don't think Kansas is worried. I think Kansas. I mean, obviously they're pretty much a shoe in for preseason number one, and I don't think Kansas really cares. They just had, I think, three top recruits, 5-star recruits at that visit campus this past week. They got a stellar team that's competed already with NBA players. And just looks like the team to beat in not only the Big 12, but in the NCAA. So we'll see how that goes. Um, in other news, some Blues news for you. Blues will be playing Wisconsin this coming weekend at home. It'll be their first home matchup, so be on the lookout for that and make sure to attend. It's, I believe, will be $5 for entry. It will be at the Kansas City Current facility, the training facility over off of 635. It is no longer at Swope Park, so make sure not to go to Swope Soccer Village. Go to the Kansas City Current venue, and should be a good game. Wisconsin's coming off a win over Metro, which Kansas City got this past weekend, weekend before this one. So it'll be a solid matchup. Wisconsin has been known to kind of be that that spoiler team. So we'll see what happens. Articles should be released as normal next week. I know that articles were kind of sporadic last week, but they should be consistent this week. Starting tomorrow, I will have one out. So be on the lookout for that. I will be sharing a college football dogs article about Devin Neal tonight. So be on the lookout for that while you wait for this to load. Um, but I mean, if you're watching this, it's probably already up, and um, you've waited for this to load. I don't know. But yeah, go check that out. I'll be sharing that to the Facebook page and just to socials in general. So you can look up for that. And other than that, that's our show. Thank you so much for joining. This has been Alex Blackburn for the Burn KC. Have a great rest of your Labor Day weekend, and I will see you next week.